Oh, g'day Rugby League fans and welcome into the Mad Monday podcast, digesting all of the ups and downs of round 7. Manaia in the studio and in the greater Eastern Bay of Plenty, it is Ben Hurley. G'day Ben, how are you getting on?
Kia ora, mate. Very well. I'll be honest. It's been an average weekend. The Warriors got humped, and I just got stung by a paper wasp.
Did you?
All in all, yeah, I really did. It was hiding in my gumboot, which is that's rural problems right there.
God's honest grassroots rugby league problems that you're dealing with there. Is there a nest? Have you got like a wasp nest at your place? What's going on?
Oh, it's hard out paper wasp season. Just because it's cooling off and they're looking for a place to hibernate. I didn't think we'd get fully into entomology chat straight away, but here we are.
Of course, as always, this podcast brought to you by 4 and 20 Pies, the perfect at-home snack for watching the Rugby League. Get on the old Facebook group as well, facebook.com/groups/Odenrhine, which none of us in the Mad Monday crew can spell, so good luck finding that one. Just look up Mad Monday on Facebook, and as always, the Supercoach is back for 2024. It's not too late if you have a Supercoach team. You can still jump in the group because it's just overall points, so make sure that you jump in there. Signed Warriors jersey and, of course, bragging rights on the line. But, yeah, as you mentioned, bit of a sad weekend for Warriors fans, 30-12. I want to start with something that I haven't talked to you about, and I just wanted to know if you're even aware of this and what your take is on it. Are you aware of the Pinot Noirs movement that is desperately trying to get off the ground?
I certainly am, yeah. I mean, you know, Matt Heath is a multi-talented man, but the fact that this has made international news based off a moderate to, I'm going to say moderate to strong pun, is incredible. And, you know, I definitely wouldn't put myself in the category of the Pinot Noirs. I'm definitely more your DB Bitter sort of war. But you know, we take all comers.
Yeah, that's right. I've been saying that this whole time as well. It's like there's always one more seat on the bandwagon, so come on over. And I know a lot of people extended an olive branch this weekend and thought they'd just try this whole red wine thing, see what it's all about, see if there's something to this movement. And a lot of people are blaming that sort of Pinot Noirs for trying to co-opt the Wars movement, and that's why we lost this weekend. I just want to clarify, I don't feel that way. I know there's a lot of people that are listening to this podcast that feel that way and really want to send a lot of vitriol the way of the Pinot Noirs. It's important to remember there's only about 4 of them. And I said it before, I say it again, the thing is that they control the mainstream media, so we're always going to be up against it when it comes to them. But I just think we don't need to turn on each other and cannibalise each other after this loss. You know, we can't win them all.
That's true. I mean, it doesn't help that Mike Hosking, who is a very polarising figure as a member, one of the very few members, as you say.
Yeah, I am yet to be shocked by anyone who's come out as a Pinot Noir and outed themselves. Every single time someone says it, I'm like, yeah, that adds up. Anyway, we said on the Agenda podcast this morning we're going to put a line under them and not talk about them again. We'll talk about the game itself. I thought one of the biggest things going into this game just before kickoff was the late scratching of CHT. Our bench looked okay despite all of the injuries that we've had so far, but with CHT out and Freddie Lussick serving that massive suspension for breaking Lachlan Ilias's leg, it meant that Wigan essentially had to play 80 minutes, and we had Paul Roach on the bench. I think he came on with like 30 seconds left to go, and we saw Wigan get a knock to the knee early doors, and I just wonder if maybe if we had Freddie Lussick on the bench, Wigan might have come off for a spell there. But because we had, you know, Paul Roach on the bench, he sort of had to gut it out. And we didn't really see too many sniping runs or anything out of Wigan. He made a lot of tackles, but I just sort of thought it neutered him a little bit. Like, it just changed. All of a sudden, we went from being okay with all of the injuries we had to sort of being screwed, didn't we?
Well, yeah, I mean, the first try, we got a consolation right at the end, but basically the only try we scored all game did come from Wade Egan, bit of brilliance to Sean Johnson. But yes, I think you're right, though. I think he did have to go into self-protection mode a little bit, which is something he's not used to. As we know, every time he runs at the line, he's either through it or he's hurt, is the wonderful soldier that is Wade Egan.
Yeah, no, 100%. And, there were articles saying that the Warriors bench all of a sudden is quite thin. When you look at the casualty ward, the players out that would have been in the starting lineup, Marata, CHT, Jazz Tevanga, Dylan Walker's still out. Obviously, Luke Metcalf broke his leg and then Bunty did his hammy. You put all of those players in, and I know it's a bit corny, but I do believe this, that if you put all those players back in, that is a completely different team. I thought that a lot of people were asking me in the week, oh God, we're gonna thrash the Dragons, aren't we? And I was like, I'm not so sure about that. I thought we were gonna win, but I just thought this Dragons team was a little bit frisky. They're very up and down. They're kind of, I think Chris said they're like the shit version of what the Knights are. The Knights are up and down in a good way, and the Dragons are up and down in a shit way. And I just felt like they were up on the weekend. Did you think we were going to win that going into it?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I thought we were going to win 10 minutes in, because I just thought, wow, they're getting, no field position. We just look like we're all over them. But as has been the problem this year, is just that final, coup de grace, just getting over the line. We seem to be camped on opposition's 10s for, set after set after set. And the difference between this and last year is last year AFB just kept scoring tries from that position. This year I feel like teams are setting up for it. We've pivoted. So we've gone to the other side quite often, and Mitch Barnett's been going over for tries. Jackson Ford's been going over for tries. That didn't happen here. And really, we should have been sort of 18-0 up after the first quarter.
Yeah, I'm going to run through a exercise shortly I like to call cooking the books. This is something I do whenever one of my teams loses, and I go back and I try and take away any of the tries I thought were bullshit and see what the score actually should have been. I think this is a reaction. It's a reaction to being a beaten dog Warriors fan for so long. Like, you've got to try and find a way to convince yourself it would have been a win.
Oh, look, I've had James Taylor's 1970 hit Fire and Rain in my head all weekend, because it was like I always knew that I'd see you again. To the Warriors of old.
Yeah.
That's what that line's been going over and over in my head. And I haven't seen that Warriors for a year and a half. And they just came back last week. I mean, I commentated the game with Di, the Manly game.
Yeah.
And, we looked down and out, and we just did not roll over. And we came back and took a valiant 1 point out of that game after probably being outclassed for most of the game. But this, we went at them. We should have been a lot of points up. And then suddenly there was just like a 20-minute period where they blew us away, and we did sort of roll over, and here they are again, the Warriors of old. And maybe that's the trauma talking. I don't know. Do
you think that part of it is that we went through 90 minutes of a grueling draw last week, then the 5-day turnaround? Do you think that that's a legitimate excuse for like a bit of fatigue for the boys?
Well, maybe, because they look so uncharacteristic. And when I say that, obviously I've just made the point that this is the Warriors that we have known for a lot of seasons. But we haven't seen this for 18 months. And, they've just shown so much heart. Yeah. So, yeah, maybe it had to be something. Yes, we've got players out. Yes, we've got key forwards out, particularly. I think our backs are still pretty strong. And yes, our bench is thin, but we've got key forwards out. And look, I hope it's a blip. I think it's a blip. A real test is this week. It's another short turnaround, and we should blow the Titans away. Yeah,
well, that's the thing. If there was ever like a course corrector, it's playing the Titans, who at the moment are leaking points, despite the fact they almost took out the Manly Sea Eagles just yesterday, but they also still let in 34 points themselves. I thought Zach Lomax in particular just took our soul on that game on Friday night. The one that really caught my eye was obviously the catch that he made over the top of Marcelo, and a lot of people were piling on Marcelo. I would say in his defence, I feel like that was someone else's call, because he only had eyes for the ball, and there were a couple of other guys coming back towards him that I feel like should have set. Because bear in mind, Ben Hunt kicked that from 40 metres out. So I don't think it was in Marcelo's mind that someone could be coming through to take that out. And I feel like Roger and Chance were both looking at Zach Lomax. Surely one of them should have said something. And if they did, surely Marcelo jumps to contest it. It looked like he had no idea Zach Lomax was coming, didn't it?
Oh, look, I think we can all agree Marcelo Montoya did not have a great game. He didn't have a great game defensively. I mean, I feel like there was a game about 2 seasons ago where he had to match up against Michele Ravalawa, and he just can't handle him. There's just too much muscle in that massive Fijian rhino coming at him. Marcelo, he didn't have a great game. Is he potentially out of form? Possibly. There's a member of the Pinot Noirs, I don't want to say which one, it's not Matt Heath, who said Marcelo Montoya is the only warrior I would like to run at.
Brutal. I don't know about that. I don't think we talk about how he's got shoulders of granite. I'd probably line up Tane Tuopiki before I went in.
Yeah, good point, actually.
And that's not a challenge. That's not a challenge to Tane either. I'm just saying.
No, not me. I reckon if you're going to do it properly, run at AFB.
Make a name for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought that Ben Hunt try was ridiculous where he shrugged off, I think it was Wiegand. He just ran straight into the line, threw Wade Egan on the floor and reached out and dunked it like a basketball player. I just thought that was like vintage Ben Hunt winning Origin. But pretty much single-handedly. I didn't think there was much we could do about him. I thought he was great on the weekend. The other thing that I really wanted to talk about today, I kind of didn't want to talk about, but I feel like we have to. It's the RTS.
I think I know where this is going.
The RTS brain explosion. And it was like, he kind of understood what he meant. But so the dropout, the goal line dropout, lands about 7 meters away from the goal line. So it's like, hasn't gone 10. But then it bounces forward. Now, I think in rugby union, if it lands and hasn't gone the 10, then I think that's just a penalty. But in league, it's still allowed to bounce forward, and that's what it was going to do until RTS caught it, and you could see SJ gave him a spray for catching that. Like, Rog, what are you doing? I don't think Sean Johnson's without blame in that incident, but that was a brain explosion. That was 2 points straight off the bat because they converted that penalty, but that was a brain snap.
4 of their points is slightly bizarre. I mean, not bizarre, but there was those ones, and then there was the 2-point drop goal, Zach Lomax, which you never see, and they kind of didn't need the points at that point, but it was just a bit of a nail in the coffin. So, yeah, I don't know. Is that a hangover from rugby union for RTS? Has he forgotten?
I think it could be, and more worryingly, that is the only time I've ever seen anyone yell at Roger. And I just wonder if that's, I don't know, I'm sure that was just a one-off incident, but do you reckon they have yarns about that afterwards?
I don't know. The catch was so casual. Like, it was clearly like he thought the ball was dead and it was sort of over, so he just kind of caught it with one hand against his hip. And he went, oh, no, that's right, it's still live. It was so weird.
It was weird, and it just cost us 2 points straight away. Like you said, then there was that drop goal that Lomax rifled from 2-point field goal territory. With about 20 seconds left in the first half, it was just like a fuck it sort of one. So with that being said, I'd like to debut a new segment that I've been working on. As you know, I'm the numbers guy here at the ACC. So I've got the abacus out, and I'd like to debut a new segment that I call Cooking the Books. So the score was 30-12 in the end. There was a period in the first half where we had about 30 consecutive tackles on their line. And this is what one of the punters was saying before this round, that they'd like to see the 6 again go, because there's so many times that someone should have and could have been penalised, but they're not because the ref has the 6 again up their sleeve. So realistically there were like 3 repeat sets on their line. If there were penalties, 3 consecutive penalties, someone goes to the bin, surely. But instead, because of the 6 again thing, they don't go to the bin, then they get a penalty because you don't get 6 again in your own 40 metres, you get it everywhere else. So then they get piggybacked down our end. So what should have happened was someone goes to the bin, conceivably we score there. That's a 12-point swing in my mind because they come down the other end and Sully scores. So by that stage, if we're going from 30-12 as our starting baseline, 12-point swing, we're now at 24-18. If someone gave Marcelo a heads up that Lomax was coming, I don't think he scores there. That puts us at 18 all. We take another 6 points off the Dragons. And then the Roger brain fart, that one's a gimme. That one's the most obvious. That's 2 points off their score. And I think the actual score, if I'm cooking the books, should have been 16-18.
Okay, look, I love this, but I do wonder how far you go back with cooking the books. Like, if Tyrell Sloan's dad pulled out the night he was conceived, then he isn't born and he doesn't rip us apart from the back and score that long-range try. Like, how far do you go back?
Well, the first draft went all the way back to the Paul Vaughan barbecue in lockdown a couple of years ago, but then I realised we didn't have to go that far to get to 16-18. Look, I'm just trying to convince myself. I'm trying to make everyone else feel better out there that we weren't that far off that one, but I don't know. We were quite a way off it.
Yeah, look, I think we've got to call it a blip. I think we've got to look forward to this week. I don't think the Titans are quite as bad as you say. They were close in the weekend. They were close the week before as well. I can't remember who that was against, but that was against a decent side. Penrith, was it? Anyway, they were close 2 weeks in a row. So we just have to make sure we beat them. And I don't think we need to put 30 points on them. I just think it needs to be a complete performance.
Yeah, 100%. The next game is going to be Warriors versus Titans. I think it's 4 o'clock, April 25th. That's this Thursday, Anzac Day at Go Hard Media Stadium in Auckland. And 4 and 20 Pies have got your chance to win tickets. All you have to do is text the monthly keyword to 3236 to win those tickets. This month, the keyword is piehole. So text piehole to 3236 to be in to win tickets to head along to that game. It's a great game on Anzac Day. You've all got the day off. Just bear in mind, we're not going to fly you up. So if you enter this and you win it, make your own way to Auckland to go and check that game out. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to leave the Warriors chat there. It's too traumatic. And when we come back, we'll hit you with the Stonka of the Round. All right, a huge weekend in the NRL, a lot of upsets, and now it's time for the Stonka of the Round. We're going to go the Roosters versus the Storm. It was the first game of the round. It is the fall asleep at halftime bowl, the Thursday night game that kicks off at 10 o'clock. I cannot, and I'm only 32, I don't have kids, but I already cannot get through a Thursday night game. I fall asleep at halftime every single time. Did you manage to stay awake through this whole thing and watch it live?
I did actually. I struggle with the last game on a Saturday, but that is usually alcohol related. And obviously the last game finishes close to midnight. So look, this was billed as the big game of the round, and I don't think it disappointed. It wasn't a heap of points, but it was a hell of a spectacle, and there were loads of great moments in this. There was a brain fart to rival RTS's one with Cameron Munster getting 10 in the bin for just trying to tackle James Tedesco, taking it back to the 20 for a tap. So that actually made me feel better about the whole RTS thing, because arguably that's worse.
Well, I think what he was trying to do, because Munster was desperately, he was screaming at the ref for a captain's challenge on the play before that, and I think what Munster was trying to do was stop the play so that they would have to have a look at the captain's challenge. I don't know who the captain is for the Melbourne Storm though, but it's not Hughes and it's not Munster, so they were.
Is it Christian Welsh?
Yeah, I think it might be. And so the problem that Jerome Hughes had was he was screaming captain's challenge at the ref, and the ref was going, "You're not the captain." So this isn't a captain's challenge. And also, he hadn't blown his whistle, so you can't captain's challenge something that didn't happen. But yeah, it was egregious. And I think even, was it Dan Ganane, the commentator? He said it before it even happened. He's like, he's going to the bin here. Munster's going to the bin.
Yeah, he did, yeah. And Munster, I'm no fan of the Melbourne Storm, but I guess I am a Queensland fan. So there's something about Cameron Munster playing up to the bad guy stereotype that I love. And him blowing kisses to the crowd was just beautiful as he was going to the bin, and just so much more maddening to a crowd than flicking in the bird, a la Matt Lodge at the end of the 2020 season.
Yeah, his Warriors tenure. I thought that was ridiculous. I thought Suali'i looks good. He is going to really let a lot of rugby league commentators off the hook when he leaves for Union, because none of them can pronounce his name at all. I probably haven't there either.
Suali.
Yeah, Swahili. It's an absolute shocker. Blocker Roach just about has a stroke when he tries to pronounce it. But people were kind of slagging him off. I think they were trying to make themselves feel better about losing him from the competition altogether. But I thought in that game he looked absolutely excellent. I think he's still only 19, 20, is he? Didn't he come into the league at 17?
Where's he going to play Union?
He is going. You know what? I couldn't tell
Is
you.
he in Japan?
Presume. No.
He must be.
Oh, is he? I thought he was going. He's contracted to Australian rugby. I presumed the Blues.
Right. So he's going to play Super Rugby.
I hope so. Yeah.
Imagine making that decision to go from like people actually watching you and stuff.
I was going to say he probably hates playing in front of crowds, so it's not a
yeah.
it's not a bad option.
I see you've put in our rundown here what I was going to talk about as well, which was Xavier Coates.
Yeah,
Xavier Coates has gone from being a hot and cold winger who had great moments to just being potentially the best finisher in the competition. You know, rivaling our own great Dylan Watene-Zelezniak, but he's something else. And that try, I think he beats 4 players and stretches out. So he's not just a one-trick kind of aerial pony either.
No, well the thing is he's built like a thoroughbred horse, you know. And obviously the highlight that jumps out is the one that the soul snatcher against us. But this one was just a God's honest, like up the nuts, reach out and dunk it. They thought they'd brought him down. And then all of a sudden his arm just poked out like Space Jam. He dunked it onto the line, and that was it. That was the end of it for the Roosters. It happened in, I think, like the 76th minute, which was great for me because that was the last leg of the bet that I was waiting on. And
you're the real winner here.
Yeah. And you know, I don't know if he scores that try if I hadn't put that bet on. But you're right. He's turned into like a top tier elite winger who all of a sudden is quite consistent. I don't think it's any coincidence that he goes to the Melbourne Storm and becomes that. You know, that's just the kind of team they are. And they've got it sort of across the park. So I think Jerome Hughes has been excellent this season as well. I think if he didn't score one, I think he did score one of those tries, didn't he? That
he did score.
Break,
he scored. He was what? There was a lot of bum on show in that game. A lot of bum came out. But he scores and it wasn't his whole bum came out, but some very colourful underwear.
Yeah, that's right. And he tried to do the real staunch roar at the crowd, which is quite hard when you've got pink polka dot budgie smugglers on. So that was quite tough.
Yeah, he's gone another level, Jerome Hughes.
Yeah.
We've always known that he's good. And, just this season he's gone... I don't know, he's carrying a bit more responsibility, I guess. Munster's only just come back from injury or suspension. I can't remember which.
Yeah.
It's usually one of the two with him. And I think those early rounds where he's had to take on a lot of responsibility have given him a whole nother level of confidence. And that's all it is.
Yeah.
He's got all the skills. So it is sometimes just him with a bit of confidence. And I just hope one day, he does well enough in his career, earns enough money to buy some headgear that fits.
I think he's doing just fine at the Melbourne Storm, but you're right, yeah. He's got a big head for a small fella, is the problem.
Well, it's the chubby cheeks that stick out the front.
Yeah.
Chris and I were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. We're like, dude, you've got to get some headgear that doesn't make you look like a cherub.
Yeah. He looks like a squirrel who's squirreling away his nuts and his cheeks there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think he's been excellent. You're right. The reason you can't remember why Cam Munster was out is because there was nothing printed in the press as to what it was, but he injured himself in the shower. And then remember the Storm said it was a hammy. He said it was more of a groin. They didn't really say what it was. It was all very squirrely.
It was somewhere in the vicinity of downstairs and the shower, and those two things, put together in a press release makes the mind go wild.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. If you're going to make up an excuse, don't make up pulled my groin in the shower. Because I dare say, but game to game, every single player in the NRL has done that at least once. So you can't use that as an excuse. So that was the Stonka of the Round. A few of the other things that we wanted to talk about this week. I wanted to get onto the Jack Hetherington, Reid Marnie brouhaha yesterday. So they had a bit of a jersey pulling situation in the Knights versus the Bulldogs game, and then they both got sent to the bin for it. There were a couple of different instances. Then footage came out late last night, that as Reid Marnie's walking up the tunnel, Jack Hetherington's waiting for him and squares up to him, puts his jukes up and is sort of bouncing back and forth. Then he shoves him in the chest, and Reid Marnie's just sort of like, what the hell? Couldn't tell if he was taking the piss or not. Jack Hetherington had a smile on his face, but how quickly his team grabbed him and pulled him back seems to suggest that he was legit. I reckon he was stewing on this. And it just reminded me of, you talked about it before, the end of that 2021, 20,
Yeah, it was 21. Yeah, I said 2020 before, but it was 21.
the end of that season, I think we were playing the Titans, and Kane Evans got sent off. Jack Hetherington was playing for us at that point. He got sent off. Jazz Tavanga, I think, got sent off. And Matt Lodge was pulling the fingers at the crowd. It was like, that was the rock bottom. When they make the ESPN documentary about the Warriors, that's where it will start, and it will finish this year, hoisting the Province Summons trophy. But even then, as a lone player, we were like, oh, thanks, Jack, but you could probably bugger off to wherever you came from again, which I think at the time was the Bulldogs. But yeah, Jack Hetherington, nut job. Do you think he was legit trying to scrap Reid Marnie here?
I mean, no one waits in a tunnel just for a laugh, do they?
Nah.
You know, yeah. I know. I think maybe there was a strange game. It was a strange. Actually a strange round of footy. I thought there was a lot of blowouts. There was only 2 close games, but I did not pick the Knights to go down that heavily to the Bulldogs.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone did, and in large part it was because Ponga started that game with that hip injury, carried that one in, but then looks like he's fractured his foot, so he's going to be reevaluated in like a month or two, and they're tossing up whether they're going to do surgery or not. So that looks like Ponga out for like 3 months, and I don't think any team's more dependent on their superstar than the Knights. I reckon that's just about them done.
Good. I think you're totally right. Yeah, we talked about it. Warriors of old, you know, basically we're a one-player team, and it was just throw the ball to SJ and see what happens. And the Knights are definitely that. Glad we got the 2 points against them. But yeah, so Ponga, there was lots of talk about who was going to be the Maroons fullback this year, either Ponga or Reese as he's been called, and I'm not sure about that nickname, but anyway. And well, that ends that little discussion, doesn't it? It's going to be Reece Walsh.
It is going to be Reese Lightning. Chevy Stewart was the other one that we wanted to talk about. I felt bad about this. He was out at fullback for the Raiders, and I'll call a spade a spade. He had a shocker. Two drop balls at fullback that directly led to tries. I think 2 or 3 times he got dragged back into the in goal on defence, and then just smashed, sat on his ass later on in the game as well. Nightmare stuff. At least he has a lenient coach that's going to look after him when he gets back into the sheds, and Ricky Stewart.
Oh, look, I wanted to talk about this because it's sort of, as a, you know, you don't have kids yet, but you know, a lot of parents, they, you know, potentially have dreams of their kids becoming particularly successful at sport, and, you know, living all the dreams that you were unable to as a sports person. But I think this is a great example of why you don't really want your kids to play professional sport. So this is his second game. He debuted last week. He had a good, solid game. They kept putting the camera on his family. They're sort of country New South Wales people. They definitely look like they're from the country. There was heaps of them. Cousins were there. It was just a lovely moment. He had a really good game. And then game 2, they just went, who were they playing? The Broncos. Just went, oh, he's the weak link here. And they just bombed at him. And he's a little guy. If you didn't see the game, he's not a tall fullback. He's a fast fullback. He's got a low centre of gravity. I think he'll be a good player. Yeah, it was just, and the crowd sniffed blood in the water as well.
Yeah.
So every time he got the ball, the crowd just raised their voices and increased the pressure on them. And all I could think of was his family probably in the stadium again going, oh no.
Oh god.
Oh no, this is the reality check of professional sport.
Yeah, it was a real welcome to the league moment for Chevy Stewart. I felt bad for him. It sort of reminded me of Xavier Savage had a similar game a couple of years ago. And Ricky, I think, may have even hooked him. He was on the wing. And I think he might have hooked him up halfway through the second half. He got dragged into touch, that sort of thing. I mean, credit to the guy. He had a much better second half than the first, but the game was gone by that point, and largely due to his errors. But Ricky did keep him on, and he was definitely improved. And I didn't select him, but he is on my super coach side. Which saved me last week because I had heaps of players in Penrith who had the bye. But anyway, I played him last week and he got 40-odd Supercoach points. This time, 14. Yeah. To be fair to him, none of them were through lack of effort. Like it wasn't that he wasn't out there trying, because boy was he trying. In fact,
No.
that's why he got smashed so hard. He was trying to run that ball back. He was like, bugger it, I'm gonna make up for what I've done here, but wasn't to be. One last point I wanted to get to before we go to an ad is we put a vibe punt on the Warriors to win and James Fisher Harris to score, and that was paying about $12. And James Fisher Harris did score.
He did score.
And then the Warriors lost. So I was like, God, the punting gods just robbed us on that one. That was a huge omen punt.
We haven't really talked about that. The great signing.
No, yeah.
James Fisher Harris coming to the Warriors next year. I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, I'm going to assume you've heard this news. It's been talked about as the biggest signing in the club's history, and I think that there's a good argument for that. I think maybe, in terms of money, it's probably Sam Tompkins, the English fullback who used to slip over all the time, and it was a particularly low point for the Warriors, I think, when he was in the team. But in terms of, arguably the best prop in the game, certainly in the top three. Yeah. And he's coming to us, and it's not at the end of his career either. He's 28. He's in the peak.
Yeah, he's at the peak of his powers at the moment. He'll be 29 when we get him 4 years through to 33. I think it's hard to tell. Only time will tell. But it's up there with Wiki and Price and those kind of signings to me, and it's just going to depend on how it plays out over the next couple of years. If we win the comp next year, that's the greatest signing of all time, hands down, easily. But even if we don't,
it had to happen because AFB is just such a huge hole to fill. And there was talks a couple of months ago of Payne Haas coming across, and I thought that would have been a pretty good like-for-like swap. But I think this is arguably better. I can't think of too many other props. Certainly no one else I'd rather have. But maybe like a Joey Tarpany or something like that would be up there. I imagine they would have been targeting him as well.
Yeah, 100%. All right, time for one more quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, we're bringing back a fan favourite. I've had a lot of street mana out and about Hurley. A lot of people asking me to bring Hurley's Heroes back. It is hard when there's only one person guessing, which I think is why we put the queue in the rack for a bit. But it is a fan favourite segment, so we thought we'd bring it back here. So without any further ado, Hurley's Heroes.
Oh yes, there is a sting. Let's play it now. Okay, that's right. Yes, welcome back to Hurley's Heroes. I thought I'd prepare one just to cheer us up after what happened in the weekend, and looking forward to the next game, which is the Warriors versus the Titans on Anzac Day. And Hurley's hero this week is a player born in 1981 in Toowoomba, Queensland. He played in the position of hooker. He made his debut actually for the Brisbane Broncos, playing only one game for them before moving to the Melbourne Storm for a season and a half. But then he joined the Gold Coast Titans and played 100 games for them before coming to the New Zealand Warriors in 2012, playing 3 seasons for the Warriors, 86 games, before rejoining the Titans for his final year in first grade football with 21 games for them. He also played a single game for the Queensland Residents and a single game for the NRL All-Stars in 2015. Since retiring from rugby league, he has become a bricklayer on the Gold Coast.
A brickie on the Goldie. That's a very Kiwi thing to do. I know you said he was born in Australia. Born in Australia,
but played for both the Warriors and the Gold Coast. So, am I Nathan Feen? Mm-hmm. Am I Nathan Friend? Am I Nathan Wood? Am I Nathaniel Roach? Or am I Lee Odenryan?
I want to put a line straight through Lee Odenryan. I know he wasn't a hooker. I think the first name that came to mind, but you've done well with the red herrings here because all of the names are very similar and I'm confusing them in my own head. Give me Nathan.
I'll go them again if you like.
No, it's not going to help.
Nathan Fiend?
Yeah.
Nathan Fiend, Nathan Friend, Nathan Wood, or Nathaniel Roach.
Older brother of Paul, I believe, who played for us on the weekend. Nathan Fiend was the first name that came into my mind. Give me Nathan Fiend for 1 point, please, Ben Hurley.
You've hit the post. It is not Nathan Fiend, it's Nathan Friend. Nathan Friend is the correct answer. Probably best known as throwing arguably the greatest pass that led to a try in Warriors history.
Upside down over his head.
That's right. He passed it between his legs, narrowly missing his own junk. I believe, just off the top of my head, I think to Sean Johnson, who steps through the line to score.
It was. There was no amount of repeating those names that would have helped me there. I still confuse Stephen and Angus Crichton, despite the fact that they look nothing like each other. It's some sort of mental dyslexia thing. But I thoroughly enjoyed Hurley's Heroes back. I hope you did, playing along at home. I know a lot of people like to play along at home. We should put a little pause music in there for people to have an argument about what the right answer is. But anyway, we've run out of time here for Mad Monday on a Monday. Thank you very much, Hurley, for joining us. There will be a game on Thursday, the Anzac Day game, as we said before, and that will be the Warriors versus the Titans, 4 p.m. kickoff out there at Go Hard Mount Smart Stadium. Coverage live on Sky Sport 9 or Channel 59 on your set-top box. Me and Keezy commentating that one. So we'll see you then.